Welcome to another episode of Real Talk with RJ. If this is your first time listening, please don't forget to follow and hit that notification bell, depending on whatever platform you're using, so that you know when we release a new episode. Today, we're going to be talking about a subject that no one is unfamiliar with. And to make sure I have a non-biased opinion, I got another special guest, which some of you might remember. Please welcome once again, Diana.
Hello, everyone. I'm glad to be back.
I'm glad to have you back. You did such a great job in the last episode, I had to have you back again. So we're going to be talking about a subject that everybody knows. Like I said earlier, we're going to be talking about arguing in a relationship, the proper way to argue.
Dun, dun, dun.
I know, like, this is something that a lot of people have a problem with, because there really is no sets classes on how to effectively argue. There's lots of different approaches from therapists and stuff like that, and all these different clinicians about how to argue. But the fact is, people still fall short. Why? Because that big, ever-present monster in the room called anger. So basically, it's about perspective. I think the most important part about arguing with your significant other is to remember that you're not enemies.
Right.
You are partners. If you lose track of that fact, if you forget that you're partners, then you're going to get on the defensive and you're going to start attacking each other. And that's when nothing goes right when you attack each other. You're not enemies.
Yeah.
And
I think a lot of problem with the couples is they look at each other. And I mean, you look at that person when you're mad and you try to, blame him for it. And that person blames you. And then it just kind of goes back and forth and you don't resolve it.
Exactly. A lot of therapists call that accusatory statements, like saying, well, you were out late last night because you were doing this, this, and this, and this.
Yeah.
When in fact, that person could have been out late because they had to work and they were honestly working. Or, you're always assuming the worst in me. You always do this and this and this and this. But the thing is that, once again, you're assuming and accusing a person that these actions mean this, as opposed to saying something along the lines of non-accusatory statements, saying, whenever I cook for you and you don't say thank you, it makes me feel this way. I'm not saying I'm not accusing the person of being ungrateful. But what I'm saying is, it feels to me as though you're ungrateful because I cook for you, I make a meal, and you don't say anything about it. You're not acknowledging what I did for you, and it doesn't feel to me that you appreciate it. Now, it's that person's responsibility to either acknowledge and say, you know what, I agree with you, you're right, I can change, or, up yours, I'm gonna do whatever I'm gonna do.
Yeah.
But the fact is that you didn't accuse that person of feeling that way. You're saying, to me, it feels this way.
That's how you feel.
Exactly.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense.
Do you have any experiences like that where you've had big arguments based off of accusations or anything like that?
Yeah, I think I've, like, in my past relationship, I think I've learned a lot from my past relationship to my new relationship, where communications, especially when it comes to arguing, is a lot different now than when it was before. Back in my, like I've said on the last episode, where I used to express myself how I felt, and all the response I would get was okay. And then I guess basically he would kind of tell me to just let it go and let's move forward. But it would still bother me. And now it's my partner, my fiance, notices when something's wrong. Even now, it's harder for me. It's to still express myself how I feel, but yet, it takes me a little while to open up. But I tell him this is how I feel, and I love that he acknowledges my feelings, and there I go with the,
That's okay. Well, it's an important thing because of the fact that you have to deliberately reprogram yourself to respond differently than what you had before.
Yeah, no, it's completely different, and I enjoy it, and and I love that he acknowledges the way I feel and considers how I feel. Like, he puts my feelings in consideration. And sometimes, I might, just because maybe, for whatever reason he works later, he's tired, and I kind of want to get that little attention, I'll pick a fight, and that's not right. I know a lot of women do that.
Yeah, it's understandable. You definitely want to have the attention from the one person that matters to. So, I can relate with that. I also agree with what you said as well, that people shouldn't be picking fights to get attention. But a simple expression should be enough. A simple
Yeah.
expression of something like saying, hey, I really missed you today.
Yeah.
I get that, as people who are working, we can definitely be caught up in our own world
Yeah.
and just be like, oh
We
man, I'm so
forget.
tired. I just want to relax and kind of
Yeah.
cut down. But it's important to not forget that you have a partner there, and that partner is looking forward to seeing you. And if you're not looking forward to seeing each other, what are you doing with each other?
Yeah.
You guys should be looking forward to see each other. So when you get into arguing, which no couple is immune from, every couple will argue at some point. It's important to remember, you're not enemies.
Nope.
Don't cuss at each other. I encourage that. I mean, you're going to do what you're going to do regardless of our opinion.
Yeah.
But I strongly encourage you, don't curse at each other. Let that be a starting point. Don't curse.
Yeah,
Because
that's how you lose respect.
yeah, and those words are inflammatory words. Those words actually escalate situations a lot faster. I challenge anyone listening to this session right now. Try not cursing when you're mad. I guarantee you, at first it will be a little frustrating if you're not used to that. But at some point, you're going to start getting a lot more control over your anger, because you're forcing yourself to have to think about what you're going to say, as opposed to using a curse word to express yourself. And by the thinking that you're going to be utilizing to express what you say, you're going to be a lot more control over your anger, and you're going to see that you don't get mad as fast. But when you curse, those words are often used with associated with anger. So when you're angry and you're using these curse words to someone you love or your partner, it's very easy for you guys to throw everything out of proportion and get a lot madder than you could be at that situation.
Yeah.
What about you in your current relationship? Do you guys curse at each other when you're mad?
Yeah. One thing.
You curse at each other
we
when you're
used to
mad now?
No, we don't, not at all. I used to in my previous relationship, but one thing that always stuck to me that someone had told me, and this was years back. That person had told me, the only advice I give you in a relationship is to never say the F word to your partner. The reason why is the first time that you ever say that F word to your partner, that's when you lose respect. Because if you tell him that, he or she tells you that word, he's going to tell you back. He's going to say that word back to you, and you're not going to like it.
Yeah.
And they're right.
And once that respect is gone, it's really
gone.
hard to get back.
All these words start coming out, and it's unfiltered. You have an unfiltered argument.
Yeah. And another thing my mom always taught me is never use the B word. I was raised by a single mother, so she always told me never use the B word, which means female dog for anyone who's not familiar with that word for some reason. So the reason why, and you hear a lot in hip hop, like that word is now synonymous. It's used often with women. It's interchangeable.
Yeah.
Like,
I
got my B over here. Yeah, like the B word is becoming more commercialized. More and more people are actually using that word. But what is it doing to our subconscious? It's actually diminishing the value of a woman. And when people keep doing that, they keep falling into that same pattern. Now you're going to lose respect for your partner. So I don't care how mad I am, I will never use the B. Me personally, and this is not just, put my nose down at anyone. I used to have a really bad mouth. I used to have a cuss like a sailor mouth. But, I had to go through a journey and I wanted to stop. And I went through my personal journey and I stopped. I haven't said a single curse word, and I've been in fights. And I haven't said a single curse word since like 2008. And that was not an easy accomplishment for me, but I'm really grateful that I've been blessed to not have said a single curse word since that time. And but these are words that used to just flow from my mouth like crazy. But I noticed that when I stopped cursing, I was able to speak more respectfully to women. And I was able to address them on a much more respectful manner. When I got mad, I was able to express myself without being antagonistic and nitpicking and being very disrespectful. And it's so important to never criminalize your partner for how they feel, especially if your partner's sensitive. If you criminalize them for how they feel, they're going to stop opening up to you.
Yeah.
You can't be held accountable for how you feel. You can only be held accountable for what you do with those feelings. And, with me, I've had lots of bad thoughts because I've had scars from other traumatic relationships, but that does not give me the right to take that out on my current relationship.
I agree.
And it's hard.
It is. It is very hard. because you kind of got to look at it like that person is not the person in your past anymore, but it's hard to kind of let those flaws, you know, go away. You got to learn, and you got to keep teaching yourself, this is a new relationship. This is a new relationship. This relationship's healthier than the one before. You got to learn to express yourself, how you felt. This person obviously wants to know how you really feel, and I think you should open up. Some of us is hard because we still feel a little guarded, even though we shouldn't. But for some reason, there's just that little wall there that you just can't bring down. I don't know if it can be pride, or I don't know.
Maybe it's just the fear that it might, like, maybe you just fear, or maybe it's common that so many women feel that since it's happened so many times in the past, it's bound to happen again. So I'm going to enjoy the ride as much as possible, but I'm not going to be dumb enough to believe it's not going to happen again. I get that. I can appreciate that, having been hurt myself by, like I said in one of my previous episodes, I used to be a dog. But ever since I had become a good, honorable man and a faithful man, I've had my heart broken. Karma. It is what it is. But each and every one of those times, I had to give that person an unbiased, unfiltered opportunity. And I'm really glad I got my heart broken each time until the woman with whom I am in love now.
So you should never give up on love.
Absolutely.
There's always going to be someone that's going to break your heart, but that person's going to teach you something onto the next person until you find that one that you truly love and you feel safe with.
Yeah.
And you're able to communicate with.
And that's all worth it.
Yeah, it is all worth it. I completely agree.
And I think one of the things that I really love the most is that although I had been disrespected in my past relationships, verbally and otherwise, I'm grateful that I can not at all be accused of having disrespected any of my exes verbally. Well, since I've been a good guy, it's interesting. It's a good feeling to know that you never disrespected them, although you were disrespected. It's a good feeling. And then what I try to do the most in my relationship now is I try to make sure that I cultivate an environment of safe emotional expression. So for all you guys listening right now, it's so important, so critical that you allow your partner to express themselves without consequence. Now, that does not give your partner full range right to just disrespect you because they feel some type of way.
Yeah.
It's important, like for example, with your children. If you have children that are getting disrespectful, you need to put them in their place. Because if you go like, I just want to make sure that my kids fully express themselves without worrying about the consequences, guess what? They're going to go out and badmouth the wrong person and get killed. And then you're going to get mad at the other person for killing them. But guess what? That could have stopped with you.
Yeah.
People need to know how to put a filter and express themselves under the right circumstances respectfully. It's okay to be upset, but it doesn't give you the right to sit there and get in someone's face and disrespect them. It's important to learn how to respect your partner and allow them to express themselves without consequence. Having said that, it's important for them to respect themselves to express themselves in a respectful manner. So what about your current relationship right now? How do you feel about the environment? Like, do you feel safe? Have you regretted any times you've opened up to your current fiance?
No, of course not. Our communication when we were upset has gotten a little better. Maybe in the beginning it was hard because I never had anyone that not focused, but knew how I felt. Like he would see that something bothered me. And every time he would tell me, what's wrong, I would tell him nothing, when something was bothering me. To this day, it's still there. But I think I've gotten to open up a little more than, in the beginning. Yeah. I've never had anyone care so much for me the way my fiance does. Like I said, in my past, it was more like I tried to express how I felt, but all I got as a response was okay. And nothing was done. So I started building that wall and a grudge against that person. And that's not what I want to do now. I feel like I've grown more in my relationship than I did in my past because I felt like it was always one-sided. It was never 50-50 or 80-80 or 100%. It was always, I did maybe like 120, and with him it was just maybe 30%, 40%,
Yeah.
where he even tried.
So, do you guys have any like spell safes in place right now for when you guys get really mad, like your current relationship? When you guys get really mad, what do you do?
Well, I think we try to talk about it, but if we feel like nothing's kind of being resolved, we kind of just give each other that space before it starts to lead into like a bigger argument. And I think once we're both somewhat calm, we'll sit down and talk about it. I think we've been together for about a year, a little over a year, but we've had a few little arguments, nothing big. The only one time that was a big argument was because of something that I said to him, and he was very upset, and he didn't like it, and I didn't like it, and that was the first time he didn't sleep. We didn't sleep in the same bed, and I kept waking up, and I felt really bad, but the pride in me was, didn't let me to go up to him and to say I'm sorry. But thankfully we were able to talk it out and we worked it out. But at the same time, I felt really bad because practically a whole day was wasted where we could have been together and having a good Sunday, and we didn't, because we were both very stubborn to want to talk to each other, because we were both very upset. But we were able to solve it, and I'm glad that we were able to solve it, and thankfully that issue hasn't been brought up.
You bring up a really good point as well about an entire day was wasted. That's something that we often find in relationship problems, is that people just they go like days at a time without talking to each other. Like, why would you guys want to waste an entire day or more than one day because you don't want to talk to someone? Oh, I'm waiting for them to come up and say something to me.
Yeah.
Do you want to fight? There needs to be a structure in your relationship. Now, you don't wait until you're mad at each other to try to establish structure. You wait until you guys are happy, in love, and enjoying life to actually discuss these things. One thing that I encourage some of my friends to do is incorporate a safe word. It doesn't matter what color your skin is. This works for anyone who's willing to make it work. If both people in this relationship are willing to try and do their best to make this work, to make this a loving home or loving relationship, this will work. First, have a safe word, where if the argument is getting too hot, too mad, you guys are getting way too mad, someone needs to get up there and just say the word. Both of you guys come up with a word. Not one word that one person likes, the other person doesn't like. This is a word you guys can both use, like maybe red light. It's a very simple thing. Say like red light. But you're not. Yeah, ice cream, red light, whatever. But the thing is that you're using this word not as a punishment to shut the other person up. You never want to weaponize it. It's a tool. You don't want to weaponize your tools. You want to use tools to build something better. That's what the purpose of a tool is. It's not meant to hurt. Tools are meant to strengthen, to build, to create. So don't create problems. Build foundations for a better future together. So use this tool. Let's say red light's your word, or ice cream. The argument's getting really hot. You guys are both feeling really angry right now. One of the people in the relationship recognizes that, and they go, you know what, red light. And that gives you guys time. And you guys already have a rule established of how much time you're going to spend away from each other quiet, so you can calm down and come back to talk about this. So let's say 30 minutes is the minimum, so you guys can relax, or an hour is the minimum. That does not mean you guys go out of your mood of, like, let's say if one partner is the one that makes dinner and serves the other partner, and then the other partner goes back and they clean the kitchen afterward. You don't stop doing what you would normally do just because you're feeling some type of way.
Right.
You got to continue, because you both love each other. You're both partners. You don't stop your routine. You're just not talking to each other because there's a problem here. What is the problem? You guys are having a difference of opinion. So rather than become enemies because of that difference of opinion, you try to find a way together through this issue. So you come out together at the same time. Why spend an entire day arguing when you can actually spend and be done with it in a couple hours?
Yeah.
Now I will admit that there are some issues that require more time, but that should be an exception to the rule, not the norm. So first and foremost, always cultivate an environment where a person can feel vulnerable and safe to express their feelings. Never criminalize them for how they feel. Number 2, if possible, do your best not to curse or use aggressive or accusational language towards your partner. Once again, accusational language is like, every time you come over here, you always look at me and say that I'm doing this, and you always look at me like I'm the villain. Don't try to interpret what someone else is doing. You say, whenever you do these things, or whenever these things happen, I feel this way. It's not accusatory. You're expressing that when this event happens, you're isolating the event from the person. Whenever this event happens, it affects me this way. I feel this way as a result. For example, you have a partner that comes home and is always gambling your money away. Rather than say, dude, you're screwing our life up, say, hey, every time our money is spent gambling, it hurts me because now I start getting afraid of where we're going to get our food, how we're going to pay our bills. That stuff needs to be expressed. If that person is not going to come, like, try to work it out with you and try to come to an agreement with you, if they don't care about how you feel, don't waste your time.
Yeah.
Get out of the relationship.
Yeah. I mean, there's some men, I can't say men, but, when men and women too, when you want to express how you feel, but there's the other person, your person or your partner doesn't want to listen. They're like, oh, here we go again. Like, why are you crying now? That's one thing that always frustrated me, and I mean, to the point where, like, how long does it take you to get to that point? Like, what can we do to change that?
That's a good observation too, because there are some people that they just don't care. Mm-hmm. And then you have other people on the other hand as well. I'm not saying this was you, but like, there's all other people as well who just, and I will use the term nag, like they're nitpicking. They just want to pick fights over every little thing, as opposed to picking and choosing fights that actually have substance.
And a lot of women tend to do that, but I think we do it to get the attention of the person, which is not the correct way. I think one way for us to say is like, I missed you. When are we going to spend some time together? But instead it's like, oh, you're late. Oh, you make a remark just to kind of piss them off.
Yeah.
And, obviously that's where the fight starts, and that's where you kind of want to go at it and each other. And
maybe they're just doing it for the makeup sex.
That too. It works all the time.
Been bringing people together for a long time, then they realize they hate each other afterwards.
Yeah.
But it's like, another thing too is, hey, no one's immune from that. There are males and females who do that same thing. There are guys out there that will nitpick their women like every little thing as well. So it can happen. There are people. No one's immune from it. Saying, or no sex.
I don't like that word nag. It's a very disturbing word, because you're trying to tell your partner how you really feel, but that person doesn't see that you're expressing. That person sees you as you're nagging,
Yeah. Yeah, I concur with that. I believe that to be, to be accused of nagging when you don't bring up issues very often, it's one thing. Or to be accused of nagging when the person just doesn't care, it also sucks.
Yeah, and that should be a sign for you too. If that person's not showing any type of emotion that he cares about you and is willing to change, or okay, how can we do this for our relationship to be stronger, that should be a red flag for you to, what, this person's not acknowledging me now. What makes you think this person's going to acknowledge my feelings later?
Exactly.
And that's a problem with some of us women, that we settle.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I think guys settle too.
Yeah, I was gonna say guys settle too, and
I think a lot of people on both sides of the
and a lot of people settle because of kids.
Yes, and then they end up like cultivating a toxic relationship, a toxic environment, arguing all the time, and these kids see that.
Yes.
But like, keep in mind too, another thing that's going to be really important for you guys to remember is that the way you talk to your partner, if you have children, your children are going to watch that, and they're going to believe that the way you talk to your partner is okay for someone else to talk to them that way.
I agree.
So you can't get mad if you see your little princess out there and she's got her partner and that partner talks to her a horrible way. You can't get mad at that person because you let your daughter know that's okay.
Another thing too about when you have kids and relationships don't work, one thing I don't agree is with you poisoning your kid because of that grudge that you have against your partner.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And I feel like you should let your kid love. If mother or daughter treats your son or daughter with love and respect, but yet you guys have a problem. That should be between the partners, not the kids. Don't take that away from the kids.
And by extension, family as well.
Yeah.
Like, my fiance and I have had issues where we actually were in the middle of an argument, and it kind of poured out. It was not solved, rather, by the time we went to her family's house. And when we had a function with her mom and dad, it was interesting because the mom was able to know that something was wrong just because moms know. But no one else can tell because I wasn't mistreating my fiance. I wasn't acting different with her. We were happy and loving each other. We were still serving each other. We still had our routine, and we continued to do what we were doing. So no one else needs to know you're arguing.
Yeah.
You don't need to go out there and blast. And please, for everyone, please do not blast your partner on social media. That is a big no-no.
Oh, yeah.
If you have a problem with them, only praise them. Praise them and say how good they're doing and all this stuff like that. If there's problems, you take care of the problems in-house. Don't blast them out there.
Yeah.
And because if you do that, people are always going to see the bad. People are going to see the bad because they pay attention more to the bad than to the good. You get 1,000 attaboys and everything's good. Oh, I'm so proud of you. But once you get that now everyone remembers the and it's like the attaboys never happened.
Yeah.
So as we bring this episode to a close, it's just so important to remember. Don't forget that you guys are partners, not enemies.
Yeah.
Please don't blast your partner on social media. Please build and cultivate an environment of love. Now. Yeah.
They want to see the bad in you. They want to see you. Oh, they're having problems. Let's see what's going on on their social media. And it really sucks because you want your friends, those who you consider your friends, to support you. But then you realize when you get in a relationship where you're happy, they're not happy for you.
Yeah. And that also brings up another good point. Like you're bringing up great points. It's please also remember, be careful who you tell your business to.
Yeah. Sometimes your closest friends or family are your closest enemies and that you don't know.
Yeah. And they could give you bad advice deliberately to screw your relationship up. Why? Because their life sucks and they want yours to suck too. So you guys can go back to doing what you were doing before that partner came into your life. You want to make sure if you open up to somebody that person loves you and your partner equally, that person loves you both and wants the best for both you guys and is going to give you proper and honest feedback. You don't want someone who's going to take your side just because they're your friend. You want someone who's going to be honest with you and tell you what they think according to the best of their understanding.
Correct. Always go with the gut feeling.
Yeah.
That's the way I see it.
Stay around like-minded individuals who want the best for each other.
I agree.
Stay away from those toxicos, those toxic friends. I'm telling you. They'll smile in your face and stab you in the back and then lie to you that you have a knife in your back. Like, there's nothing there. It's just part of the jacket. It's a rhinestone. It's beautiful. Like, it's a freaking knife and it's in my back and I'm bleeding. No, don't worry about it. Girl, you look great. It's the new style. Everyone's got a knife in their back. Don't worry.
Right? It's very sad. But, it is what it is. Yeah.
Sadly, that's the state of a lot of quote-unquote friends these days.
Yeah.
But hopefully we can help change that. Hopefully our eyes will open up and the quality of relationships will get better. So remember, when you argue, you still love each other. Don't forget that.
Just look at him. Say all the words you want to say to him in your mind. Just kidding.
Yeah, just keep them there.
Just keep them there and that's it. Don't
out.
let them come out. And then just like, okay, you know what? This is how I feel. This is how you know what's going on. I feel like this certain way, but in your head you're like, oh, this is what I want to tell you, but I'm not gonna say it.
You can also bring up like funny words to express your cuss words instead of saying cuss words. Like instead of saying holy I say holy smokes, Batman. It's just funny to me, and I train myself to say it, so now it's my responsibility, or that's my response. Instead of
or just give him the stink eye, like I'm mad.
Or instead of saying like go blank yourself, you just like go smurf yourself. The Smurfs use it for everything, so you can say it. You just say something wacky. It's corny, but
even though they're mad, it can make them just smile. Even though you're mad, you still have that little smirk smile, like I'm still mad at you, but it was funny.
And you're not getting disrespectful with each other.
Yeah.
So
that's one thing. That's the big important thing of the relationship is respect.
Absolutely. I want to once again thank Diana for being here on the show. I really appreciate you.
Me.
And I know the listeners love hearing you as well. You're such an incredible asset to this show. Just remember, everybody, you guys are special. You deserve to be happy. Don't settle for someone who doesn't deserve you or won't respect you. You've been listening. Say again?
So don't give up on love.
Outstanding. You've been listening to Real Talk with RJ. Signing off.